Number 12 is squash and stretch. This is, if nothing else, probably the most important one, and it will do wonders for your work. Squash and stretch is very simple. When things are moving, there's a lot more visual interest when things squash and stretch, okay?
Happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, 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 joy, joy, happy, 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 joy, joy.
If your square, your div, your circle, your ball, whatever is bouncing, it should be stretching as it moves and squashing down with pressure and then bouncing up. Think of it like a rubber ball, right? When things are moving, they're kind of going at a more stretched out appearance. That blur, that stretch, and then squash, and then stretch. Looney Tunes did this a lot, and you'll start to see it more and more in regards to things that are trying to be animated that want to feel organic. Next.
I see you shiver with anticipation.
Anticipation. One thing that can really change things and really make things feel alive is given anticipation. That's simply where you move things in the opposite direction of where they're going to be going, okay? Telling them, okay, I am getting ready to go in the opposite direction. It exaggerates the squash or stretch. It exaggerates the movement by giving an anticipation for that movement. We've all seen it where somebody winds up and then takes off, right? Because they're winding up in the opposite direction and then taking off. Although it's done for characters all the time, it's also going to be useful and relevant for the web. This is with buttons, this can be with squashing and stretching of different divs, and we'll get into that later. Staging. Staging, you think, would mostly apply only to actual TV and film, but the reality is, and this is actually probably more important on the internet, because the internet is going to be a unique place where your stage changes. We don't have full control because of mobile devices. So the actual staging of your layout, your staging of how your animation is set up, you don't want it to be distracting, but you want to visually still look good in the layout, especially because it's moving. You're dealing with something that is going to be moving on screen or being able to move when clicked on or whatever the case is. Staging is important. You know, we can make something look visually good, but staging is going to be a little bit more of a twist now, the fact that you actually have a stage that can change its width and its height. Straight ahead action and pose to pose don't really apply quite the same in the web, okay? But I would say the reason why is it's mostly applied to how you actually do the process of drawing. It's different. We're gonna think of it along the lines of toggling between different animation approaches, styles, and ways things are moving on the screen. Follow through and overlapping action. So this is essentially very, very similar. But the point is, essentially what happens is things don't stop all at the same time, okay? So if we have a item like a person with long hair, when they turn their head, their hair is delayed and comes afterwards. The follow through is going to be something that follows in the same direction that of the main action, okay? This is if we had, for example, let's see here. Here we go. So here we have a camera. And if this camera was to move like that to the right, this strap here is being delayed and then it's following through in that direction, okay? Following through in that direction. So ease in and ease out. So this is probably one of the most important, especially because you're going to be fighting a computer, okay? The computer doesn't like ease in, ease out. That's not how it thinks by default. Naturally, what it's thinking is like, okay, cool, point A, point B. But that's not how things work in the real world. In the real world, things try to slow down when they arrive at a point. When things try to slow down to a point, most times they don't just abruptly stop. Okay, a lot of times what will end up happening is they'll actually go a little bit past, right? They'll actually overlap, follow through, and then arrive at their destination. So if we're using this example, camera moves, and you can even see if you're watching me trying to slow it down and stop, what actually ends up happening is I actually overshoot slightly. I go past just a little bit where I want it to go, and then it just stops, okay? And that has to do with because of the weight of the camera, has to do with the all these extra physics. The point is nothing really abruptly stops. Easing in and easing out. So it's not so much that everything's going from here to here, it's things going from here and then they're slowing down.